This is Unvarnished, the Bible in the Raw. Gene, the journeyman Strother, has described himself as preacher, pauper, president. He has lived on both sides of the tracks and brings a one-of-a-kind perspective and style to Bible preaching and teaching. Gene continues the series, Pride and Prejudice. It is based on Proverbs 6, verses 16 through 19, which reveal 7 things God hates. Today's sermon is The Sting. Gene has a word of caution for the schemers and delves into the colorful life of one of history's best-known schemers for inspiration. Get ready for the unvarnished truth. Now, here is your host, Gene Strother.
Well, I had a dream last night. It was a vivid dream. The only thing that wasn't vivid is I was talking to someone, and I'm not exactly sure who I was talking to, but whoever it was, this nameless, faceless person asked me, "Have you ever preached when you didn't want to?" And I immediately answered, "No, but I have wanted to when I couldn't preach." So thought about that all day today after having that dream last night. How many times over the years I have missed the opportunity to answer the call that was placed on my life many, many years ago. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to preach. The funny thing about this is there's nobody in front of me. There's no crowd to interact with. So that makes it a different dynamic. Makes it in a lot of ways a little more difficult, but it's still exciting. And I appreciate you spending just a few minutes with me today. We have officially made it past the halfway point in the Pride and Prejudice sermon series. We're on sermon number 4. There's 7 of them. And we're calling this one The Sting. A word to the schemers. A word to the schemers. The Sting. So far we've done The Devil Wears Prada, Catch Me If You Can, and There Will Be Blood. And if you go through my Substack, you can, if you missed any of those, they're still available and you can listen to them at will. I've titled today's sermon, The Sting. Let's go back to our text, which is, of course, found in Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 to 19. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes. This is the one we're on today. A heart that devises wicked schemes. Feet that run swiftly to evil. A false witness who gives false testimony, and one who stirs up discord among brothers or in a family. A heart that devises wicked schemes. Robert Redford, Paul Newman, and me, coming of age in 1978. On Christmas Day, 1973, Universal Pictures released The Sting, starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman. The film is set in the 1930s, and it follows 2 grifters, played by Redford and Newman, as they pull off a big con against a ruthless Chicago crime boss. That movie was nominated for 10 Academy Awards, and it won 7 of them. It became the 4th highest grossing film of all time at that time. I didn't get to go to the theater in those days. My parents wouldn't allow it. If I went, I had to be sneaky about it. So I missed the movie. But in November 1978, when I was 17 years old, the movie came to television for the first time. ABC featured it on their series, which they called the Sunday Night Movie. And they won the night with that movie. They claimed 60% of the television audience during that 2-hour time slot. I watched it with my dad. He was a huge Newman and Redford fan, and so was I because of their Western movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Dad and I loved Westerns. I think Mom just loved Newman and Redford. She watched The Sting with us. I felt so sophisticated watching and understanding the elaborate scheme Newman and Redford pulled off. And Newman's character had those slick hands that could manipulate cards like a magician. Had that ragtime vibe, the colorful attire, the slick, smooth personas of the best-looking men in Hollywood, and it made a young man like me want to pull off a con. I got to root for bad guys because they were doing the bad thing to a worse guy. So they were, by comparison, the good guys. Ah, the wonder of relativism, the beauty of honor among thieves. The world, and Hollywood in particular, has done a great job glorifying criminality as long as it is justified, meaning the mark deserves what he gets, reactionary, meaning the mark did something bad first, lucrative, meaning you got away with it and a big bag of money, and of course entertaining. As long as it meets that criteria, then we can glorify criminality. The original stinger. When we think of Bible characters, we tend to put them into some special category separate from the ordinary humans whose lives and deeds didn't make the cut and were never included in the book of God. What we forget when we're reading in the Bible is their humanity. Even the giants, the heroes, the Robert Redfords and the Paul Newmans of the Bible were men and women battling the same demons you and I face in our ordinary lives. They were making decisions, scheming, and plotting their way through life too. Jacob was Newman and Redford rolled into one. Now, I don't know if he was better looking than either of them, but he was more consequential than both of them put together, and probably smarter too, truth be told. Jacob was a great actor, but he was a grifter. He pulled off not one, but two stings that made the biblical record. His first mark was Esau, his own brother. We call this the justified scam. You know the story, I'm sure. If not, you can read all about it in Genesis chapters 25 through 27. You read the whole story. First, you have Esau, that rugged woodman, that hunter extraordinary, the one who always has a deer lease somewhere and during hunting season disappears for days at a time to hunt and maybe throw back a few with the boys or tell stories into the night over a deck of cards. The difference between Esau and today's hunter, maybe, is that if he doesn't kill, he doesn't eat. There's no Walmart or Kroger or Costco to run to, no pizza joint up the road. So Esau comes back from a failed hunting expedition. He's famished and exhausted. And Jacob, the homebody, mama's boy, the one who would rather watch Iron Chef than rough it in a hunting lodge, has cooked up a delicious bowl of stew. The aroma is like heaven to the hungry Esau. So he asks his brother for a bowl. But Jacob, schemer that he is, does not give away food to his older brother. Instead, he trades it for the birthright. You see, the firstborn has what they call the birthright, which means he has the first rights to the inheritance of the father. And so Jacob says, I'll give you this stew. I know you're famished. I know you're weak and dizzy and you need to eat really bad. And I'll make you a big bowl of delicious stew as much as you want. I just want your birthright in return. Esau, the short-sighted, devil-may-care, live-in-the-moment dude, thinks, what the heck? What does he need with a birthright? He's his own man. So he agrees. Fast forward. Isaac, Abraham's son of promise, has himself grown old and blind. He's near the end of the road, and he's ready for that ceremonial passing of the torch to give his inheritance and his blessing to his firstborn, who happens to be Esau. He instructs Esau to go on a hunt and bring him back some of that good venison. Then he promises, he'll sit down with Esau and bestow the blessing on him. Rebekah, Isaac's wife and the boy's mom, thinks it a mistake to give the family farm to Esau. She doesn't trust him. Jacob is her favorite. So she and Jacob devise a plan for Jacob to pretend to be Esau. Remember, Isaac is blind, he's old, probably hard of hearing. So Jacob makes his arms hairy with animal hair because Esau's a hairy dude. And Rebekah makes Isaac's favorite meal. She also gets some of Esau's clothes for Jacob to wear. They have Esau's manly smell in them. They do not smell like Axe body spray. So here's the record of the sting operation as it is recorded in the book of Genesis. So Jacob took the food to his father. My father, he says. Yes, my son, Isaac answered. Who are you, Esau or Jacob? Jacob replied, It's Esau, your firstborn son. I've done as you told me. Here's the wild game. Now sit up and eat it so you can give me your blessing. Isaac asked, How did you find it so quickly, my son? The Lord your God put it in my path, Jacob replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Come closer so I can touch you and make sure that you really are Esau. So Jacob went closer to his father, and Isaac touched him. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's, Isaac said. But he did not recognize Jacob because Jacob's hands felt hairy, just like Esau's. So Isaac prepared to bless Jacob. But are you really my son Esau? He asked. Yes, I am, Jacob replied. So he had to repeat the lie. Then Isaac said, Now, my son, bring me the wild game. Let me eat it, and then I'll give you my blessing. So Jacob took the food to his father, and Isaac ate it. He also drank the wine that Jacob served him. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come a little closer and kiss me, my son. So Jacob went over and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he was finally convinced, and he blessed his son. He said, the smell of my son is like the smell of the outdoors which the Lord has blessed. From the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth, may God always give you abundant harvests of grain and bountiful new wine. May many nations become your servants, and may they bow down to you. May you be the master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. All who curse you will be cursed, and all who bless you will be blessed. So Jacob pulled off the ultimate con on his own father, and in doing so, he punked his brother. Never mind, God had chosen Jacob for the blessing in the first place. He had chosen Jacob over Esau. Still, God did not endorse or sign off on deceit as a means to accomplish his purpose. Jacob may have felt justified in the scheme, but the consequences would hit home soon enough. And when you know it, it would be when he fell in love. Scamming the scammer. Jacob fell in love with Rachel. What a beautiful, gorgeous woman she must have been. And he was smitten. So he asked her father for her hand in marriage, and Laban, her old man, agreed. But at the wedding, he stuck his ugly daughter Leah behind the veil and tricked Jacob into marrying her. And that was no bargain. Jacob goes to bed with Catherine Zeta-Jones and wakes up to Kathy Bates. Laban explains to Jacob, who is furious, and rightfully so. It is customary around there for the older sister to marry first, so there. But in exchange for serving in Laban's employ for 7 years, he can have both sisters. And Jacob agrees. That was the thing they did back then. The sting. Laban did not know, he did not know who he was messing with. He thought Jacob was an easy mark. Jacob struck that famous speckled and spotted deal with Laban, saying he would tend to Laban's goats and sheep. And he agreed to do it for 7 years at first, and then an additional 7 years. So 14 years he ended up serving his father-in-law for the right to marry the one daughter he wanted and the other one he didn't. And Jacob said, look, I'm doing all of this for you, and your flocks are growing. He said, I'll tell you what, just give me the sheep that are black or speckled or spotted, and you can have all the rest, goats and sheep as well. But you see, Jacob had developed a sophisticated breeding program, and he had put that in place. And so the spotted and the speckled and the black sheep and goats just kept coming and kept coming. So when the two men parted ways finally, Jacob was rich, and Laban was reduced to humiliation and was quite poor. This was Jacob's life. He was always running a con. It cost him time, effort, and a tumultuous home life. The ugly sister, Leah, was popping out kids left and right, and the pretty one was having trouble getting pregnant. So there was infighting, and there was a lot of angst there, and Rachel was angry at Jacob and Leah and everybody because she couldn't have a child, and Leah just kept having these children. And from these sons that came out of the two girls, we get the 12 tribes of Israel. We'll talk about that. So there was infighting. So I'm sure Jacob was always happy to find any reason to get out of the house. But then God intervened in Jacob's life and changed forever the trajectory of his family and what would become the nation of Israel and human history, taking the sting out of the stinger. Jacob was always looking over his shoulder. His con had made powerful enemies, not the least of which was his brother, who had grown mighty in wealth and power. It's like almost like that blessing that his father gave him. It came true because he had men servants and women servants, and he was a leader of men, and he had a large force that would have to be contended with. And remember this, he had a score to settle. So here's how it all changed for Jacob. Here's how it all changed for Jacob. In Genesis chapter 32, we're going to read verses 9 to 32. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my grandfather Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me, return to your own land and to your relatives, and you promised me, I will treat you kindly. I am not worthy of all the unfailing love and faithfulness you have shown to me, your servant. When I left home and crossed the Jordan River, I owned nothing except a walking stick. Now my household fills 2 large camps. O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he's coming to attack me along with my wives and children. But you promised I will surely treat you kindly, and I will multiply your descendants until they become as numerous as the sands along the seashore, too many to count." So Jacob stayed where he was for the night. Then he selected these gifts from his possessions to present to his brother Esau: 100 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 female camels and their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He divided these animals into herds and assigned each to different servants. Then he told his servants, "Go ahead of me with the animals, but keep some distance between the herds." He gave these instructions to the men leading the first group: "When my brother Esau meets you, he will ask, 'Whose servants are you? Where are you going? Who owns these animals?' You must reply, 'They belong to your servant Jacob, but they are a gift for his master Esau. Look, he is coming right behind us.'" Jacob gave the same instructions to the second and third herdsmen and to all who followed behind the herds. "You must say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and be sure to say, 'Look, your servant Jacob is right behind us.'" Jacob thought, "I will try to appease him by sending gifts ahead of me. When I see him in person, perhaps he'll be friendly to me." So the gifts were sent on ahead while Jacob himself spent that night in the camp. During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 servant wives, and his 11 sons, and crossed the Jabbok River with them. After taking them to the other side, he sent over all his possessions. This left Jacob all alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until the dawn began to break. So he got in a wrestling match with a stranger. When the man saw that he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of its socket. Then the man said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. He replied, "Jacob." "Your name will no longer be Jacob," the man told him. "From now on, you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won." "Please tell me your name," Jacob said. "Why do you want to know my name?" the man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there. Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God. For he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury to his hip. Even today, the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket because of what happened that night when the man strained the tendon of Jacob's hip. So Esau was headed straight for Jacob, and he had with him 400 men. Jacob was rich, but Esau was powerful. Jacob knew it was time to pay the fiddler, and he was all out of schemes. All he had left to him was hope for mercy. He limped up to Esau to face the music, but God had already been working on Esau too. All was forgiven, not by hook or crook, but by the power and grace of the one with whom Jacob wrestled, the one with whom so many of us, all of these centuries later, wrestle today. And here's how things ended up between the brothers in Genesis chapter 33, verses 16 to 18. So Esau turned around and started back to Seir after they had been together for a while. And that same day, Jacob, on the other hand, traveled on to Succoth. There he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was named Succoth, which means shelters. Later, having traveled all the way from Paddan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan. There he set up camp outside the town. Jacob bought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he built an altar and named it El Elohe Israel. El Elohe Israel means God, the God of Israel. And now you know the rest of the beginning of the story. The message here is this: God doesn't need your schemes to work out his will. You know, a lot of times we ask God for something in times of stress or times of distress, and we have our backs to the wall and we don't know where to go, we don't know where to look, and we're so far down, the only way we can look anymore is up. And I'm going to tell you, I have been in that place. I've been in that place in the wee hours of the morning, sitting behind the wheel of a yellow cab, waiting to pick up someone at an all-night bar and take them home, some drunk. And this is what my life had been reduced to. And I remember in that cab and other places too, it wasn't just then, just praying, God, show me the way. This is not where I need to be, and this is not where I want to end up. Maybe it was where I needed to be right then, but it wasn't where I wanted to end up. And I prayed, but you know what I did? Then I would try to figure out just exactly how God could do it. And I'd be like, well, you know, this church over here is looking for a pastor, you know, this, and I would come up with all these different things, and I'd say, God, you could do this. You could make it this way. You could do it this way. You could give me that job. You could do this. And God never took any of my suggestions, not one of them. And yet this path, as twisted and long and hard and up and down as it has been, has led me to this place right here. A place that I would never have dreamed being. A place that of honor. A place where I feel needed and important. With a family that is as secure as you can be in an insecure world. But even in our stupidity, poor judgment, even all of that, we cannot thwart God's plan. We cannot thwart God's plan. I had an old preacher, a mentor of mine. He's been gone a long time. His name was Dr. Earl K. Oldham. And when I was down and out, my in-laws had asked him to pray for me. And he called me one night at home. And that's just not something he did. You know, that's just not something he did. But he did it that night. He called me. And he said this to me. He said, Gene, the gifts and the callings of God are without repentance. God doesn't change his plan. God doesn't take it back. You can't thwart God's plan. You have to trust him. He is sovereign. Our plots may cause us unnecessary pain, suffering, and stress. But God is God. He is the God of the faithful and even the sometimes unfaithful faithful. His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen. My name is Gene. Some call me preacher. And this is Pride and Prejudice. God bless you and your family.